Brittney, a few weeks ago, you fouled out of an Indiana Fever game. Cameras caught you saying something on the bench. It's hard to tell what you said. Can you tell us what you said?
I remember fouling out, being mad. I remember fouling out on, I believe it was Howard, driving to the basket. They said I put my hand in. But hey, never really had to look at the shade and stuff.
But what did you say?
I really can't remember what I said, honestly.
If I showed you the video, would that help?
No, it wouldn't help.
It wouldn't help?
Brittney Griner just pulled off the most convenient memory loss in sports history. 3 weeks after viral video caught her allegedly making controversial comments about Caitlin Clark, she suddenly can't remember what she said. But here's the twist. She remembers everything else about that exact moment. The hypocrisy is about to get exposed in ways that will shock you. Do you believe Griner genuinely forgot what she said? Or is this the most obvious case of selective amnesia you've ever seen? Let's start with the facts because they're so ridiculous they need to be laid out clearly. 3 weeks ago, during a game between the Atlanta Dream and Indiana Fever, Brittney Griner fouled out and was caught on camera allegedly saying something that sparked massive controversy.
For the ticky-tack fouls that we were talking about earlier today.
The viral clip appeared to show her muttering what many viewers interpreted as a racial slur directed at Caitlin Clark. Fast forward to this week, and Griner finally faced questions about the incident. Her response? The most convenient case of amnesia since politicians started testifying before Congress.
Brittney, a few weeks ago, you fouled out of an Indiana Fever game. Cameras caught you saying something on the bench. It's hard to tell what you said. Can you tell us what you said?
I remember fouling out, being mad. I remember fouling out on, I believe it was Howard, driving to the basket. They said I put my hand in. But hey, never really had to look at the shade and stuff.
But what did you say?
I really can't remember what I said, honestly.
If I showed you the video, would that help?
No, it wouldn't help.
It wouldn't help?
She remembers the foul. She remembers being frustrated. She remembers who she fouled and exactly what happened during the play. But when it comes to the specific words that could either clear her name or confirm the worst allegations, suddenly her memory goes completely blank. I really can't remember what I said, honestly, Griner claimed when directly asked about the incident. That's not just suspicious. That's insulting to anyone with functioning brain cells. You remember every detail of a basketball play from 3 weeks ago, but you can't remember the sentence you spoke immediately afterward? Come on, Brittney. We weren't born yesterday. But here's where it gets even more ridiculous. When reporters offered to show her the video to help refresh her memory, she shut that down faster than a convenience store during a hurricane. No, that wouldn't help, she said. Think about that for a second. If you genuinely couldn't remember what you said, and someone offered to show you video evidence of what happened, wouldn't you want to see it? Unless, of course, you know exactly what you said and you're hoping everyone else will just forget about it.
In a viral clip, after she made a foul play, Griner appears to mouth something rather controversial. It might be, though we don't know, trash and possibly fucking white girl. Others have suggested it might be trash and fucking whack call. We don't know what she's mouthing, but she seems to, have a mouth on her and not exactly be in the gratitude space. Griner herself hasn't commented. Now, why is that? If you were being accused of making racist statements, I think you'd want to clear that up quickly. You'd race to the cameras and put out a statement on X to say, I said fucking whack call. I didn't say effing white girl. But she's not. She's apparently totally comfortable letting those allegations linger. Maybe she's worried that the people on the bench or the people right behind her had a recording going. You know how people do? They record the game. They want to show their friends that they were there. Maybe she's concerned that if she comes out and says it's one thing, there might be proof that it was something else. We don't know because she's not speaking to it, which is odd.
The timing of this selective amnesia is particularly convenient given the broader context of how the WNBA has been handling controversies this season. When false allegations of racism were made against Indiana Fever fans regarding Angel Reese, the league launched a swift investigation. They issued statements, they took the claims seriously, and they ultimately found no evidence of wrongdoing. But when one of their own players is caught on video, allegedly making racially charged comments, crickets. This double standard is so obvious, it's practically glowing neon. The WNBA will investigate phantom racism from fans, but won't even acknowledge potential racism from players. They'll put up "no space for hate" signs throughout arenas while ignoring actual hate that might be coming from inside their own locker rooms. The hypocrisy is so thick, you could cut it with a butter knife. Let's talk about what actually happened in that viral moment, because the details matter. Griner fouled out of the game against the Fever, clearly frustrated with how things were going. As she walked off the court, the camera caught her appearing to mutter something in Clark's direction. Multiple viewers interpreted her words as a racial slur, though others argued it could have been criticism of the officiating. The video went viral, sparked massive debate, and created exactly the kind of controversy the WNBA desperately wants to avoid. But here's the thing about controversies. They don't just disappear because you ignore them. If anything, the league's silence and Griner's convenient amnesia have made this story bigger than it would have been if they'd just addressed it honestly from the beginning. Now, it's not just about what Griner may or may not have said. It's about institutional cover-ups and selective enforcement of standards. The contrast with how other incidents have been handled is stark and telling. When Caitlin Clark gets flagrant fouled multiple times, the league stays quiet. When she faces obvious targeting from opposing players, no investigations. But when false allegations surface about fan behavior, they mobilize immediately. The pattern suggests that protecting certain players takes priority over protecting others, which is exactly the kind of favoritism that destroys league credibility. Griner's refusal to watch the video is particularly damning because it reveals someone who knows they're guilty but hopes to avoid confirmation. Innocent people don't refuse evidence that could clear their names. They embrace it. They want to see what happened so they can explain the misunderstanding or provide context. Guilty people avoid evidence like vampires avoid sunlight. The media's handling of this story has been equally revealing. Most outlets have completely ignored the incident, despite having video evidence and multiple witness interpretations. Only Outkick bothered to ask Griner directly about what happened, which says everything about the state of sports journalism when it comes to protecting certain narratives. This selective amnesia defense is insulting on multiple levels. First, it insults the intelligence of anyone who watched the video and heard what appeared to be said. Second, it insults the concept of accountability by suggesting that convenient memory loss is an acceptable response to serious allegations. Third, it insults other players who faced consequences for their words and actions without being allowed to claim amnesia. The psychological aspect of this situation is fascinating from a behavioral standpoint. When people are caught doing something wrong, they typically follow predictable patterns. Denial is common, deflection is standard, but selective amnesia is reserved for situations where people know they're guilty but can't afford to admit it. Griner's response fits this pattern perfectly. What makes this even more problematic is the broader context of racial tensions that have surrounded Caitlin Clark throughout her WNBA career. She's faced targeting, cheap shots, and obvious differential treatment from both players and officials. Adding potential racial slurs to that list would represent a serious escalation that the league can't simply ignore through convenient amnesia. The fan reaction to Griner's memory loss has been predictably brutal and deservedly so. Social media is flooded with people mocking the absurdity of remembering every detail except the most important one. The memes write themselves when someone claims to remember fouling out, but not what they said while fouling out. It's like claiming to remember ordering food, but not what you ordered. The institutional response reveals how the WNBA operates when faced with uncomfortable truths about their own players. They'll investigate external threats to their preferred narratives immediately, but internal threats get the silent treatment. They'll condemn hate from fans while ignoring potential hate from players. They'll lecture about inclusion while excluding certain players from equal protection. Griner's career context makes this situation even more ironic. She's positioned herself as an advocate for social justice and equality, speaking out against discrimination in various forms. But when faced with allegations that she engaged in the very behavior she claims to oppose, suddenly she can't remember anything. The hypocrisy would be stunning if it weren't so predictable. The timing of this amnesia claim is suspicious for multiple reasons. 3 weeks is plenty of time to craft a response, consult with lawyers, and coordinate with league officials. The fact that her final answer was essentially "I don't remember" suggests that more honest responses would have been even more damaging to her reputation and the league's preferred narrative. The video evidence itself remains available for anyone who wants to analyze what was actually said. Lip-reading experts could potentially settle the debate definitively, but neither Griner nor the league seems interested in that level of clarity. They prefer the ambiguity that allows plausible deniability, even when that ambiguity damages their credibility with anyone paying attention. The broader implications for league credibility are significant. When the WNBA picks and chooses which controversies to investigate based on who's involved, rather than what happened, they undermine their own authority. When players can avoid accountability through convenient amnesia, they establish precedents that will come back to haunt them in future controversies. The contrast with how male professional athletes are treated in similar situations is stark. NBA players face immediate scrutiny and potential discipline for controversial comments, even those made in private conversations. But WNBA players apparently get the amnesia defense and institutional protection when caught on camera, making potentially problematic statements. The social media reaction has been particularly revealing because it shows how transparent this defense appears to average observers. People don't need advanced degrees in psychology to recognize obvious avoidance tactics. When someone remembers everything except the one detail that could incriminate them, normal people see right through the deception. The legal implications of this situation could extend beyond just league discipline. If Griner did make racially charged comments as alleged, that could potentially constitute harassment or create hostile work environment issues. The league's failure to investigate properly could expose them to liability if Clark or other players decide to pursue legal remedies. The timing also coincides with broader discussions about how the WNBA treats its most marketable players. Clark has brought unprecedented attention and revenue to the league, but she's faced more targeting and less protection than players who contribute far less to the overall product. This incident represents another example of that problematic pattern.
The amnesia defense has become a meme for good reason. It's so obviously convenient that it insults the intelligence of anyone expected to believe it. Professional athletes have exceptional memories for game situations and emotional moments. The idea that Griner would forget her exact words during a highly charged situation strains credibility beyond any reasonable limit. The institutional silence from the WNBA speaks volumes about their priorities and values. They'll investigate phantom racism against players they want to protect while ignoring obvious potential racism against players who don't fit their preferred narratives. That's not justice or equality. That's selective enforcement based on politics rather than principles. The fan investment in this story reflects broader frustrations with how the league operates. People are tired of double standards, tired of convenient amnesia, and tired of watching their favorite players get targeted while the league looks the other way. Griner's memory loss represents everything wrong with institutional protection of preferred narratives over truth and accountability. The media's reluctance to pursue this story aggressively shows how sports journalism operates when uncomfortable truths threaten preferred narratives. Most outlets would rather ignore obvious problems than risk being labeled problematic for asking reasonable questions about potential misconduct.
The psychological profile of someone who remembers every detail except the incriminating one is well established in legal and psychiatric literature. It's called selective amnesia, and it's typically deployed by people who know they're guilty but hope to avoid consequences through plausible deniability. Griners' response fits this pattern perfectly. The damage to league credibility extends beyond just this incident, because it establishes precedents for how future controversies will be handled. If players can avoid accountability through convenient memory loss, why should anyone expect honest answers about anything? If the league won't investigate potential racism from players while investigating phantom racism from fans, why should anyone trust their commitment to equality? The fan reaction has been swift and brutal because people recognize obvious deception when they see it. Social media is flooded with commentary about the absurdity of selective amnesia and the league's complicity in covering up potential misconduct. The memes and jokes write themselves when someone claims to remember fouling out, but not what they said while fouling out.
The ultimate irony is that Griners' amnesia defense has made this story bigger and more damaging than honest accountability would have been. If she had watched the video, clarified what was said, and either apologized or explained the misunderstanding, this would likely be forgotten by now. Instead, her obvious avoidance tactics have created a story about institutional cover-ups and selective justice that will linger much longer than the original incident. Brittney Griners' convenient amnesia just exposed everything wrong with how the WNBA operates when their preferred players face controversy. The double standards, the selective enforcement, and the institutional protection of certain narratives over others is now undeniable. What's your take on this obvious memory loss? Drop your thoughts below, smash that like button, and subscribe for more truth about sports hypocrisy.